You are now.
Excellent. All right. Call a public hearing portion of this meeting open. The basic purpose of this meeting is to review five potential warrant articles that have been divided by the planning board. We only want a town meeting this year in June, coming right up. I figured what we would do is go through them one by one. We'll try and summarize them very briefly. They've already been obviously discussed in planning board meetings for months and months. A couple of select board meetings, had a workshop that held on April 1st, and they're available to be reviewed. I don't know if I want to go through them in detail. So I'll summarize them quickly and then ask for questions and comments from the public. So, getting underway, the first one is the planning board ordinance, revisited again. The basic edits to this ordinance are to reduce the membership from 7 to 5, quorum of 3, and a majority of eligible voters attending to determine, to make a valid vote. Originally it's written as a planning board ordinance that planning board has responsibility for the capital improvement plan for the town. The selectmen have been doing that. So that piece has been deleted. Some minor word changes for clarity, no changes in meaning with those, and have been made, and secretary was added as the third option, specifically as opposed to just by custom. Any questions on those changes? Being none, move on to the floodplain management ordinance. This basically is a document we received not too long ago that replaces the almost identical one we have in place currently, which they also wrote years back. And it has the changes are the new map references and maybe a date or two, very minimal changes. If we don't pass this, there's a possibility that people could not be eligible or possibly be excluded from getting private flood insurance, and the town might not be considered or eligible for FEMA assistance in case of a disaster or emergency. Any questions on that or comments? Seeing none, batting 1,000 so far, right? Zoning ordinance section 407. This was originally called conversion, and it covered many things, including ADUs and condominiums, and I've forgotten what all was in there, but it's been recrafted to incorporate state law LD 2003's mandates on ADUs, accessory dwelling units, and duplexes with respect to the density that we can say is required. If again, it basically reduced our minimum 1.5 acre zoning density, effectively cutting it in half, saying yes, you can build a duplex on that. You can have a number of different permutations, but you can have as many as 2 ADUs in addition to a primary dwelling. And we don't really have an awful lot of say over this. If we don't pass it, state law supersedes us anyway on July 1st. So what this did give us an ability to do is to set a few parameters on ADUs that were permitted under state law. And without that, the state law would have covered it. It was not more liberal, but had some differences in it. So it was worth us actually incorporating this into the zoning ordinance as opposed to just accepting the state getting rid of home rule. So any questions on that? No? Very good. Next one's really easy. Section 406 dealt with, in the original zoning ordinance, dealt with multiplex. I decided that it would be a good idea to take the condominium section from section 407 and move that into section 406, just because condominiums are multiplexes, and it seemed like that made good sense. And then I was informed by under legal review by the town attorney that what was said in the section on condominiums was unenforceable and against state law. And even though it came from Cumberland and has been in our zoning ordinance for 17 years. So I said, well, that seems like a good idea. We'll just get rid of that section. It's redundant anyway. So now section 406 is as stands in the zoning ordinance and will not go to town meeting anymore. Questions on that? Yes, David.
Why doesn't it go to town meeting, just out of curiosity?
Because there's no change.
There's no change.
There's no change in 406 or 406.
I'm sorry, I thought you said it had to be revised because it was.
I revised it and then it got unrevised by legal. So it's right back where it started. So I don't think we have to. I think that's a waste of time. So
Thank you.
Then finally, let's see. Yeah, finally, comp plan summary. The vision for this was basically to tertiary summarize the original comp plan and also to state any accomplishments we may have made in the ensuing 12 to 13 years since the comp plan was written, and to affirm the comp plan, but to also indicate that it's time to rewrite the comp plan soon. And what else did I want? Oh, hoping that it might we might be able to allow this update to serve as what would have been under prior state law a mandated rewrite of 10 years, which we didn't do, but is also no longer legally required. However, it seems to be advisable to have an updated plan when people apply for, when various entities apply for grant funding. So it seemed a good idea to craft an update, again, with a view towards a full rewrite in the not very distant future. So any questions or comments on that?
When you say not too far into the distant future, or what you just said, what time frame were we talking about with
I
that?
originally said, Dave, to have totally completed, I was hoping by 2030. And I was told that was too far out and we shouldn't set a date, but we should say very soon. So I'm saying that the process will probably get initiated within the next couple of years. So that would be the idea. Any other comments? Yes.
I just add, we've stumbled across a few situations recently where we were in jeopardy of not being able to obtain state funds. We were going after because of not having what the Office of Economic Development is. We don't have an updated, in their view, comprehensive plan. In both cases, we were able to dodge bullets. They were very close bullets. One of them still in the process of being done. We think.
Yeah, as I understand it, the planning function sort of slid to Office of Economic Development under the Department of Agriculture.
heard that it moved there under legislation. I'm not sure what the status of the implementation is.
Anything else on the warrant? No. Well, thank you very much. I will declare the public hearing portion of the meeting closed. I did tell the people for broadband that they might show up a little later because this might take a while, but in fact, it took very little time. So for the moment, I'd like to hold off on, although Michael will probably deal with everything. Or Beth, you're here. Then I will call the regular meetings of the planning board open, adjourned, and move on to the site plan review for the broadband central office. The planning board conducted a pre-application review of the proposal at our April 8th meeting, and we determined that site plan review should be conducted under sections 204.1.A, 0.6, and 0.7 in the district regulations, just to make sure that we had jurisdiction and also we had a reason to do site plan review. As it's a joint project between work being done on the communications antenna and also the broadband central office work that's being done, we thought this was appropriate. Just for background on what we are authorized to do, under 206.3, review and approval authority. The planning board is authorized to review and act on site plans to build minor and major developments of the prime land. In considering site plans under this section, planning board may act to approve, disapprove, or approve projects with conditions as are authorized by these provisions. So with that in mind, I think what I would like to do is ask Michael and Beth to, if you could provide us with a very brief summary of what the project entails. And as I understand it, there are some minimal changes that have occurred in the plan. If you could go over those, it would be very helpful.
I am going to ask that Bob Ernest do an explanation on our part, as he is a representative for us as well as the board.
Yeah.
And so Bob, you'd like to?
I think the critical elements. Bob Ernest, I'm on the select board and also the select board representative to the facilities and building committee, which agreed last fall to take on this not really complex, but multifaceted project of several small things. So where we are, the tower project is not changing the physical structure of the tower, but adding and enhancing some of the electronic components that are on the tower in such fashion that Cumberland, the town of Cumberland and the town of Yarmouth will both get enhanced service for their 911 services by way of a backhaul where they'll bounce a signal from their tower out to us and then from us back into areas that are difficult to reach by the tower. Shabig is also getting some upgraded radio equipment as part of this. And because of our willingness to let them use our tower, and because of the joint service agreement that we have with those towns are picking up the lion's share of the cost of the project. At the same time, broadband needed a place to locate what's called their central office, which is a very grand term for a slab of concrete with a small roof over it, like a miniature version of the pizza shelter down at the school. And that will be located on the current public safety and town office building property on the right as you're looking at the building from the road. There will be an upgrade to the power service to the building as well. I'm not sure that part really falls under the site plan review. I think the primary things that fall under the site plan review are the pad of concrete for the central office and the roof that goes over it, and the added shed for some of the communications equipment that will sit to the left of the existing tower behind the building, as per the plans that you've all seen. In terms of recent changes, these copies have been sent to you guys. The location of the town building's septic system was slightly different in the field than what was represented on paper on the HHE 200 form back in 1980. Bo was able to use physical tools to locate the exact location of the tank and the drain field so that the pad and the trenching for the pad did not impede on their proper functioning. So they were moved slightly from what you saw a month ago. And then recently, the concept of adding the ability for broadband to have their own small generator on their pad, as opposed to the complexity of wiring back to the big generator behind the town office and back out. Some technical reasons for perhaps wanting their own generator in the future. I think the revised drawing came to you a couple of days ago, shows a 3-foot extension of that concrete pad away from the road and not toward any setbacks. I think that covers it. Thank you. Questions, comments, or you want?
Any questions from the board? It's a simple project.
It's a simple. We're simple people.
For simple. I didn't see any, within our ordinance, I saw no real, specification for how the public participates in site plan review. So what I'd like to do though, is we have, as a board, we have to look at this project with respect to the approval standards and criteria in section 206.8. So what I'll do is I'd like to go through each of those one by one, see if the board has issues with some questions, open it to the public for any comments, questions, which we'll respond to, and then move on to the next approval standard or criterion. I hope that works. So that said, just to note that this application under this section shall be approved unless the planning board determines that the applicant has failed to meet one or more of these following standards. So it's kind of like it's an all or nothing type deal. The first one is utilization of the site. Basically, that the project, what this says is basically the project reflects the natural capability of the site. In other words, it's not impacting sensitive areas, floodplains, wildlife habitat, particularly scenic areas, habitat for rare and endangered plants and animals, on and on and on. Does the board have any issues with that standard with regards to this project? No. No. Does the public have any questions? All right, moving on to B, traffic access and parking. This goes on and is linked about driveway access, parking, points of access and egress, blah, blah, blah. Does the board have any issues with this particular project with respect to traffic access and parking? Oh,
The recent depiction of parking showed the bus essentially on top of the septic system. Was that just a misrepresentation or misinterpretation of my part?
I believe
no.
there is an overhang on the bus, so it's a misrepresentation of where the septic is. And also our hopes is that working with the the school board and the town, that bus is there for hookup in the winter. And what we hope is, that that's now gonna go down to the school. And, I think they've already worked together with that, is that right? So that won't be a part of it, but it's a very good question.
One more. So, no further issues with them. Next one is similar, related, access way locations facing access ways must meet the following standards. Intersections. I don't believe there's a lot of traffic issues with this board.
I don't see anything.
See any impact from either aspect.
Concerns from the public? Thoughts?
One quick question, was there any thought given to the fact that, up until now, plowing of snow, is going to be up to that, as I go to know it, up to that area where the vault area is going to be, is that an issue?
No, it won't be. Where the plowing is taking place and where the location is gonna be, there'll be plenty of space.
There's no more snow on the.
Forever, we're done. Again, D is, nothing else on that. D deals with internal vehicular circulation, any issues with questions from the public, comments? Parking layout and design. Any issues there with this project? My only issue that I had, and I brought this up at the meeting a while ago, and I think it was addressed, was that I was concerned that whatever is on that pad, given that it's not horribly far from the parking area, is protected in some way. And I believe the answer was that there would be large boulders placed. That's not what we speak to that in mind.
The Georgetown has pipe bollards in the way. We thought of that and it was suggested that boulders would look better. And the island has plenty of boulders, so we thought we'd go with that instead. We're mostly on the roadside, but probably some back too, just in case somebody gets a wild idea.
It looks like they're picking that.
Yeah, more or less, yeah. Any other issues there from the public? No. Pedestrian circulation again, any issues from the board? Hard to go through all these, but I feel like I have to. Stormwater management. Worried about runoff and parking area groups, so is there, does the board see issues with that?
Both minimum size and evaluating the existing facility.
Yeah, I don't think it impacted that much impervious surface, given overall impervious surface already covered.
Yeah. Any questions from the public? No. Erosion control, again. Works. With that. Seems to be a minimal concern with this project. Any questions or comments from the public? Water supply provisions, I don't think apply. But I agree.
Yes.
Sewage disposal provisions don't apply. Utilities, we got it. So make sure that we have adequate service. I think that's been addressed.
It seems like the core of what's going on.
Right, so as I understand it, initially they started as separate projects, they were brought together to us at the pre-application meeting. But subsequent to that, broadband now has its own intent for its own utility service, its own internet. So essentially, each one is now responsible for their own.
Essentially, yes. At least as far as that. It's open, the question I want to discuss with the committee, on Monday night when we meet, is whether to keep open the possibility by putting a trench in the tunnel. Something else. does connect into the public safety firehouse in the future. But for the moment, it's really set. Can I do that? The issue is the availability of equipment, specifically a 400 amp meter socket. Short supply these days, supply chain issues. We're working with both the electrical engineer and 2 different contractors to come up with the ideal plan, given the timeframes involved and given the equipment that's available. But to Michael's point, also looking to provide flexibility for future enhancements as one of them.
Thank you. Anything else? Groundwater protection, again, given the nature of the project, I don't think that's an issue. Board? No. Water quality protection, likewise, really not impactful. Capacity of the applicant. Okay, here we go.
I'm cutting you both.
Again, I don't think the financial capacity carried out, I think is not a concern. Historic and archaeological resources not have been identified at the site, correct? Unknown. Floodplain management not located in the floodplain. Exterior lighting must have adequate exterior lighting for any night use. I think there's lighting outside town hall already.
Yeah, they're putting on the building.
Yeah.
It's not, we're not gonna like to add, no attention. It'll be used tonight, so for passing. See what's going through it.
So not an issue.
I don't see any issues.
Okay. Buffering of adjacent uses. Development must provide for the buffering of adjacent uses where there's a transition from one type of use to another. Any concern given the location, given the existing use there? Public? Noise, must control noise level that does not create a nuisance. Will there be noise associated?
Only if the unit products, none of the power button.
There's already a generator that runs on the property normally when there's power out.
I say,
So it can change anything. Significantly.
Anything else on that? No. Storage of materials, is there any storage?
not just during construction.
Yeah, not ongoing. Landscaping, must be provided as part of the design. I assume there is, other than boulders, there is no landscaping up there.
Little gravel around the path. Drainage. Restoration of the grass with current lush.
The pad may in fact be an improvement on the existing. Any concerns? For public? Building and parking placement. It doesn't really impact the parking. This is talking about placing buildings so that they're not right in the middle of the parking. Any issues with that?
No,
Issues from the public?
Speakers.
Fire protection, site must comply with the fire protection ordinance. I assume with the fire station next door, it's be somewhat covered.
Yeah.
Close. Any concerns?
Not a concern, but just a question. It says that it's kind of self-serving. The fire chief shall issue a certificate of compliance. So given the fact that you now have electronic equipment in a self-contained building, I assume that the fire department will have access to that building in the event that they ever have. So the fire chief can provide something.
All right, that was doubly, probably why. And with no significant concerns or issues. Um, no thoughts of conditions being placed on them.
No.
I would entertain a motion that this approval be granted for this plan as presented.
Motion. So moved.
Aaron moved to approve. Paul is seconded. Further discussion?
Yes.
Then all in favor? Unanimous. I would say that we've granted approval and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much.
Yes.